Stalkers, I'm Kathryn DeSinaasappelen, and today we are talking about a beer tasting. So this past weekend, Prince Charming and I went on our second beer tasting, which is sort of an epic adventure because it's the second time that we tried to go to this beer tasting, because the first time I got really sick and so we didn't get to go. But that's okay because we got to go this time, and now I'm going to share it with you because, guys, can I just say, if you go to Belgium and you have an opportunity to go to a beer tasting, and you probably will because they really are just everywhere, go, because it is just this incredible atmosphere. The beers are delicious and they are amazing. Go, go, go. So if you missed it, the first beer tasting I went to was at Tumblr, and you can watch the video here. This beer tasting, however, was very different. So the first major difference is price. It cost us 30 euros for 6 beers, which was a bit more expensive, and I would say we also didn't get as much beer as in the last beer tasting. The second difference is beer selection. Our last beer tasting, we had over 120 different beers that we could choose from, whereas this beer tasting had a theme, and so there were 6 beers that had been selected to fit into that theme. The theme for this month was beer brewed by women, and you know, as a woman who is in the beer industry with my beer reviews, I know from my own research that women are very, very underrepresented in the community. So this theme was just very exciting, but I feel like some of the beers really stretched to make them fit into this category. For example, I did a review on Leifman's Creek, which you can watch here, which was brewed by their first beer brewmaster, Rosa. And the beer tasting featured a beer by Leifman's, but it wasn't the beer that she actually created, it was just a beer that they said was her favorite. I'm sort of obsessed with Rosa, and I was under the impression that she liked her beer that she created, but I don't know. But that to me was a little bit stretching, and there were some other beers that it's like, there was a beautiful story, but like that beer didn't have anything to do with the story. So that was the only thing I was a bit disappointed about, is that they weren't beers brewed by ladies. But the whole presentation was just incredible. I learned so much about beers, albeit it was a very difficult presentation because it was completely in Dutch. At a beer tasting, you're drinking beer, and so there gets a point because the alcohol content is so much higher than like beers in America. You start to get tipsy. Tipsy mind doesn't want to work to understand Dutch. Near the end of it, I kept having to ask Prince Charming, what's he saying? What's he saying? What's he saying? Because my mind was just like, we're done. Beer was good. Overall though, I really enjoyed this experience. I would say that there are pros and cons to the different styles of beer tasting. I really enjoyed the intimate atmosphere of the more informative beer tasting because I was able to talk with the presentator, who, by the way, spoke English and French and was more than willing to like go into French and explain into English when I didn't understand something, so that was really great. I also got more like one-on-one time to talk with the other beer enthusiasts that were there, which is something we didn't get to do at our first beer tasting because it was more like everybody fend for themselves, like nobody was really interacting with one another. It's like people came with their own party and they were just, you know, partying up by themselves. So I really enjoyed the more intimate atmosphere. The second pro, I would say, was the more informative aspect of the beer tasting. Now, I will say, as a con, it wasn't as fun as the first beer tasting I went to, but I really enjoyed just learning about the beer. Like, interesting little fact that I learned was that brown beer should not have a white head, because if it does, that means coloring has been added to the beer. I didn't know that before, now I know that, and I think that's so much more interesting and exciting than, you know, just like drinking beer and having a good time. I like learning stuff. I'm one of those weird people. So a con and a pro of the whole beer tasting experience, depending on what you're going to be looking for, is going to be the price and the beer. Because the first beer tasting we went to was a token-based system, and we paid 20 euros. We tried limited and specialty beers, and we got to try 7 of them. It was 7 glasses that were 20 centiliters full. Now for us that worked because Prince Charming and I were not scared of each other's germs. Like 20 centiliters was just the perfect amount for him to try some and for me to try some. However, the second beer tasting wasn't based on a token system. You had glasses, you filled them up, and you got to try them. But there wasn't always enough beer to fill to the 20 centiliter mark, and that's like a lot of beer, especially when you consider one of us was going to be driving home. At least for us personally, we didn't want to get like tipsy and drunk. We just wanted to try different beers that we haven't tried before. Paying 30 euros for that seemed a bit more expensive. And so at least for Prince Charming and I, when we talked about that, we felt that the price for the beer really wasn't worth it for the second beer tasting, but we did get to try really good beer, and we both enjoyed the more informative aspect of the presentation than the first one. So in terms of what you personally would like, I would say that you would have to experiment. While I think the token-based system is really interesting to try a big variety of beers, I feel like those types of systems sort of work to try and promote and sell their beer, versus this second kind is more about trying limited beers that you're not going to be able to find easily. But you're gonna learn a lot of crap. So for me personally, I prefer the more informative-based beer tasting experience than the token-based system. But that's just me, and I honestly would recommend both because they're just incredible. They're different, but they're not bad, they're not good. They each have their pros, they each have their cons, but they always include a really great atmosphere and amazing beer. And if you want to know about the beers that I tried, I'm going to be sharing them with you this Friday on a Beer Mistress special. And guys, go to the beer tasting. It's so amazing. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit it. If you want notifications, be sure to ring the bell, and you can follow me on Twitter. As always, my social links are in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Totsiens, my applezines. Thank you to the Belgians for creating beer and beer tasting, because it's so much fun and it's so good.